decided to do the lesson in the way that you did?
I'll take that one. So Sarah Shaw, who's new to us this year, had done blended and personalized learning in a previous life. And I'd actually seen her on a panel in our team meeting talking about this, and it's come up at our team meetings multiple times. We learned about it at a summer training, and it seemed like a really great way to differentiate for the kids, give them a chance to work at their own pace and with a lot of choice in how they go about processing and completing assignments. And Sarah warned us it's a lot of prep up front, but if you share the workload, that can make it really manageable. And Zach and I were like, yeah, let's give it a try. She really sold it for us though when she told us that if you do it the way she had done it in her previous life, you really wind up at the end of the process with no grading to take home. And for us as English teachers, that really sold the whole thing right there.
Okay.
I would say the other thing too was when Sarah described it in particular, the way she described her class was, it's not silly to say this because this is what teaching should be, but it was like you're working with smaller groups of students and like teaching them the content in a focused way, which I think when I was reflecting on like the way I teach is not generally what happens in my classroom. It's a lot of like the whole group and then we split up and I'm sort of checking on them as opposed to me like literally just teaching small groups of students stuff. So that was pretty
For me, the reason I started to do it in the first place and wanted to try again was the idea of giving personalized feedback to students, because especially as English teachers where we're giving feedback to 100 and something students and you're giving comments maybe via Google Classroom or written on a paper, there's something powerful about sitting side by side and really coaching a student, and that was something I was looking to do more of, and that's what blended and personalized learning allows me to do. It's funny because I think of it as more, instead of a lesson, but more of a style of teaching for a series of weeks. And so we really just started, it's like that backwards planning that you already have probably done and know how to do, and looking at the end goal, what we needed students to do at the end, and what skills and other tasks they need to do in order to be able to be successful on those. And so we kind of worked backwards in that way and split it up into sort of topics, threads that made sense so that the students could have a grouping of things they were working on.
I would say more broadly for anybody, we picked, with what you were saying, we picked content we wanted to teach.
Yep.
And we decided how long we wanted to do it. So we decided that we were going to make each of those tasks a week-long task. So from the beginning, we knew this was a 3-week lesson cycle. And the goal would be just broad, like really broadly, which is a good starting point. Each week, the students would complete one of those tasks.
Yep.
Which task they wind up completing was up to them, and then that was where we, I think from that point, started planning each individual task. What did we need them to be doing? You have to obviously have, in our case, a week's worth of work, but you could have done it over a 2-day span, and then you need to have a 2 days. We chose a week, so then it was splitting it up really easy. We each took one of those 3 tasks, and we planned a week's worth of the work that we felt needed to happen. That was I would say is the kind of the broad strokes.
And I think what we really did at the front as a group that helped with it was we did pre-planning using a Google slide presentation. We each took on one of the common tasks, as Zach said, analysis, narrative, or argument. Then as a group we brainstormed what skills we wanted the kids to be able to show at the end of the week so that we all were in agreement
The sheet that
about...
Kelly mentioned we made together. So we sat down using the task, like we have an objective at the top, which was not ours, this is a county curriculum. And then we made a list of like, what did we need to teach? What tasks do we think we could assign them over the course of the week to learn the content? And then of those tasks and what needs to be taught, what videos did we need to make? And then once we finish this, you can see there's 3 of them because we each took one of the tasks. We collaborated, I would say more. But you could have just left, which we kind of intended to do. And I made my own and they made their own, and we were on our own independently at that point. And then as we were going through the lessons, I made my lessons on Google Slides, but they could be made on Active Inspire or honestly any program that you make a lesson on. Because we filmed them using Screencastify, which is a very easy app or add-on, I'm not sure which term it is, but really easy app to use to film what you're doing. So if I flipped through this, which I won't go through at all, but this is a Google slide that I would just put up in a class and teach one day about theme. And instead of teaching it, what I did was using a headphone with a mic and Screencastify, I made a video of it. So this is already playing. So this is a video of that lesson, and there's no audio here at the moment, but if you listen to it, it'd be me teaching my students what theme is, going through the activity, giving context, giving the same explanations I would give in a classroom.
Also brainstorm together what videos we would make. Because part of the blended and personalized learning process is you have small teaching videos that the students watch of you actually giving a lesson. And so we each, we to find out how many videos we each needed to make, what the topics of those videos would be, so that when we walked away from our sort of initial planning, each of us could go work in isolation on things we actually needed to create before we brought it back to the group, but we knew that we were doing things that the whole group had agreed we should be doing.
I think that's a really key point that Kelly just made, which is that, just like when you plan for regular instruction, you need to know what are the things that I need to deliver to the students, maybe in a whole group form, that is really just content that I have this wisdom and they don't, and I need to impart it, right? That's the sage on the stage. And any of those sorts of things that truly need to be done that way, that's the video. That's when you're making a video, versus things that they need to practice or apply and try out on their own. That's when the guide on the side part is what they're going to be doing independently. The benefit of blended and personalized learning is that you're essentially cloning yourself, and all those little videos are you standing up in front of the class teaching, but instead of actually doing that, they're watching you and learning from you while you're still teaching, or also teaching another student in the class. And I think that's the beauty of it.
And they can go back and review. And
Yes.
that was so powerful for some of them, where if they missed something, they could pause you and rewind you and watch again, or watch the whole thing and be like, I didn't get that, and watch just a specific part. And so.
Or if they were absent, they
I was
got
just
the
gonna say,
exact
talk about
same,
the kids
the
that were
same
absent.
lesson that everyone else got. Like, you didn't have to meet them at Pride or lunch and do it. They just find the time to do it.
Right.
And I think, and in my head, I feel made this clear, but maybe someone else. The vision, what they just described, is like in 1 week where kids are watching these videos we had them do, and then when it comes to more guided practice, they're actually going through tasks. Our role that entire week, which is where it was really enlightening and I think awesome, but very different for me. Like, I sat at my desk, which almost seems totally foreign because I never sit down when I teach, but I sat at my desk and kids constantly came to me one-on-one, and I just provided them feedback for a different part they were on, which is something I never do. So that was what you were saying about being able to give them feedback. So those videos are crucial, not just for those benefits, but it's freeing you up to not do teaching. Like, they're doing the learning pretty much themselves and the practice themselves, and then you give them specific.
You have these videos now to use from year to
So
year
that's the
on
other
these
one.
major
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah, I would say, so I knew you were gonna say something, so not cut off.
No.
What I learned also about the video in particular is my goal would be, I would say maybe over summer of next year, would be anything that I teach that I'm gonna potentially repeat for a kid who doesn't understand or was absent. Not even for BPL, like, I'd be inclined to make
Right.
videos of them
Yeah.
now. And just, instead of me lecturing ever, just have them lecture on a video, or at least at a minimum, I'll lecture one day, and then you can watch the videos from now on. Because it was just a revelation. Like, I could tell a kid, did you watch the video? It's very obvious that they did not watch the video. You just send them back to do it.
I was just going to say that, I think it's important to know you could even use an Active Inspire flip chart that you already have. You don't
Yeah.
even have to, depending on what you're deciding to teach. And that's what I did the first time I did this. I used a lot of flip charts that were already made, which saves some time as well. And then I think it is a good, mostly in the same range. And it's a good experience as a teacher to record yourself teaching a topic, because it forces you to focus on, well, what am I trying to teach? What do I actually need to say? What do I not need to, drone on and on about? And it forces you to be concise.
So teachers could do this with lessons they already have.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've done it.
okay,
I'm thinking
so you're
back-
not necessarily making something new. You're
Correct.
just making it digital and available to students
Yeah,
with your
possible.
explanation.
No class has a topic they're teaching that they couldn't do.
Right. And then another plug for making the videos yourself. I know probably some people are sitting there thinking, oh, well, I could just go on YouTube and find 100 videos about the topic I want to teach from other teachers or from some professional, education site. But the thing is, there's been some research that shows that your students will learn best from you and your voice teaching the topic. So.
And I feel like we wound up sharing students a lot during
Yes.
this 3-week period, because we had multiple illnesses that happened in our team. And as we were sharing students, because the kids were hearing our different voices, that built that connection and fostered that connection. So when Mr. Brandt's kids would come to conference with me, I was more of a known quantity to them, because at least they'd heard my voice, most of them, in one of the videos. Or if they go to Ms. Shock's, we just basically split up, whatever teacher was out, we split up their kids for conferencing. And it was really powerful for us then to conference with other teachers' kids too, and we had that connection already.
Yeah, we were.
The 6.2 argument task. This video is going to take you through the parts of the argument task, and specifically the things that you will do as part of the playlist.
Then the one thing I need to learn, which we were just talking about, is it's the challenge I think is like not being a perfectionist. So like I made these a few times and I kept deleting them and stopping and going back and like, oh man, I gotta make it again. And I'd fix it because I didn't like the tone I'd read with or I didn't like the thing I said. And eventually when I got more skilled at it to become faster, you just accept, like if I teach in a class, I stumble over words and I misspeak all the time.
Right.
And I've never been like, all right guys, we're starting first period over because that wasn't right. So in a video, you just have to accept that you'll do that and you correct yourself. And we kept all.
But I think the thing that can be hard for us as we're shifting into something like this is you want to grade everything, right? Everything, you want them to do it and make it have value, so it has to have a grade on it. And I think this model, hopefully it starts to shift the kids' motivation a little bit, that they want to master the end product and maybe one other thing along the way, and all these other tasks leading up to it are going to help with that, and it's kind of up to them whether they do it or not, whether they need to, and that can be really hard, I think, for teachers, including me, to say and to let go a little bit of that control.
Right.
And with sixth graders particularly, it's hard because some of them will kind of take it to the extreme and say, fine, I'm not doing anything except the one thing that's graded,
Yep.
and then they don't do well on it. So then they learn, and then they go back and do the supporting practice.
Right. So
even
we
without
applied graded
grade.
tasks. There were still like 10 or 11 tasks in each week's worth of work.
They were graded.
But like 5 to 6 of the tasks were optional, so you didn't have to do them.
Mhm.
Right.
But it was pretty clear at the end of the week, you could say to someone, but did you use this other resource that was an option? And then they'd have to go back and do it, or they wouldn't. So it's kind of, I think it's good
Yeah.
practical, like on like learning to work independently.
Yes.
But to your point, it was definitely a discomfort, like, so I'm asking them to do this work, some of them are gonna do it, and there's no product. There's no grade for it.
Yeah.
Which I actually think was good for me too, like, it's okay for them to just learn stuff.
Yeah, for the sake of learning.
So what upgrades would you make for the next personal blended learning lesson you are going to make?
So one of the things we learned was we used this conferencing Google form for the kids to sign up for conferences. And so once they chose which topic they were working on, narrative analysis or argument, it took them to different sections so they could say specifically what in that particular task they had been working on. So narrative had its own choices, analysis its own choices, and argument had its own choices. And the thing that I learned for sure, and I'm going to steal Zach's words because he said these just a minute ago, was that my more diligent students met with me often because they would come up constantly asking for feedback and make sure they were on the right track. And my less diligent students I saw less often, and I didn't do an excellent job of keeping track of which students I'd actually conferenced with multiple times versus who I hadn't seen and really needed to. And so for me, that would be an upgrade for next year, would be to definitely keep track more, or next time I should say, because we're hopefully going to do it again this year, keep better track of who I'd met with and make sure I was intentionally calling up the students I hadn't seen yet by Wednesday. Well, and I would say the other thing we really learned is that we planned way too many graded tasks.
Yeah.
Within each of the tasks, and we would cut that down because we had about 5 things we were trying to grade for each task every week, and we'd cut it down to 2 or 3 things.
Have you done anything like this in any of your other classes?
No.
Do you like it so far? I know today's
Yeah.
day 1, right? It was explained on Friday?
Well, she used videos to explain it to us, and then we filled out a question form where we all asked questions, and then she answered
Oh,
it.
so you could choose any starting point you wanted.
Yeah.
Did it matter how many students chose, for instance, analysis? The whole class could do it, or just the 2 of you?
Yeah.
Oh, and how long do you think you'll work on this analysis part?
For about a week. And
Okay.
then we'll move on to the next topic.
I'm working on the argument.
I'm working on the analysis.
Okay, and why did you choose that?
Probably just because of the order, and supposedly the narrative is the most enjoyable, so I chose that for last.
Oh, okay, so you're saving the best for last.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
Appointments coming up.
What you get to conference on.
Yeah,
Oh.
so it's not like you're ready by this. It's like you get to choose when you can conference with her based on like when you know you're gonna be ready.
And the feedback you received at the conference, did it help you to go on and improve on your writing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because my teacher helped me point out like some flaws I might have had so that I could write better.
Wonderful.